All right. I am pumped about this series already becoming, and I hope last week I got really good feedback. I hope that this week is just as good. To kick us off, we are going to play a little game that I like to call Getting Your Piece of the Pie, all right? So I need some volunteers. I need husband and wife volunteers. Anybody want to raise their hand? Can't Shinker, I see it in your face. Levi and Grace, you guys want to go? Anybody else want to raise their hands? Justin and Amy, come on up, you guys. All right, give these guys a hand, all right? Everybody give them a... The only people that volunteered, come on up, you guys. All right, if you guys want to start setting up for me. We're going to play this little game that I like to call Getting Your Piece of the Pie. And I don't know why they're putting out a tarp, but here's how it's going to work. Ladies, you are going to get true or false these right here. So go ahead. You can kind of be on this side of the stage. Are you ready, buddy?
Yeah,
all right, good. And trust me, gentlemen, nothing to worry about, all right? Nothing to worry about, okay? Go ahead and if you guys would put those on. Don't worry. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, guys. They're doing such a good job. So here's how the game is going to work. I am going to ask true or false questions about stress, all right, for the ladies to answer. You ladies will answer. You'll hold up true or false. And then, gentlemen, have you guys seen this game called Pie Face on the internet? The gentlemen are going to come, and they're going to play this game called Pie Face. I'm going to put whipped cream on it, and they're going to have to spin a little spinner, all right? So the spinner, they'll choose 5 or whatever, and they'll have to click it, 1, 2, and it'll either throw pie in their face or they won't get pie in their face. Does this make sense to everybody? So I need you guys' help. When they click, we're going to count 1, 2, all right? We're going to kind of get the suspense going because I like that they're going to answer questions about stress, and if they get them wrong, they have to go through some stress, all right? So are you guys ready for this? Are you pumped? Gentlemen, if you want, I have these. Enjoy. There's the towel. Whipped cream. Are you guys ready out there? Are you excited for this? I need to hear some enthusiasm from you guys, all right? Yes. All right, this is pretty exciting. All right, are you ready, ladies? First question. Do we have it up there? Do you have it up there? Here we go. First question about stress. Chewing gum can reduce stress. True or false? True. True. All right, let's see. The answer is true. Nicely done. All right, everybody clap. This is when you guys clap. That one was a softball, all right? That one was a softball for you guys to kind of get it going. Here we go. Next question. I am so pumped. People with more stress are dumber than people without. True or false? You guys can yell at them what you think the answer is. What do you guys say? False? Brother, you say false. Answer is true. Powerful hormones intended for urgent situations only flood the brain during stress reactions and can kill healthy brain cells, thereby making you dumber, all right? Sorry, we'll clean that up later, all you folks. All right, are you guys ready? I'm so pumped about this. Can I get a little clapping for the gentlemen who are going to... All right. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, here we go. Justin's so brave. This is why he's a Boy Scout leader. All right, here we go. 2. Oh, are you guys ready to count the clicks? Get up there. You put your face right on this, and you just turn it that way, all right? He's so cute, isn't he? Ready? 1. Come on, do it. It like raises up. 2. Oh! Give it up for Justin. He's safe. Were you nervous? All right, spin it, my friend. Don't get a 5, whatever you do. 3. All right, here we go. Oh, man, I am so nervous. Are you guys ready? Are you ready? Look at that beard. He can't even get it on the thing. Guy's beard is crazy. All right, ready? Ready? 1. Oh. 2. 3. Oh, you're safe. Oh, man, I'm so nervous for you guys. All right. Next question. Here we go. Eating chocolate and items containing cocoa have been known to elevate the stress levels of those partaking over a long period. True or false? True or false? All the ladies are like, please let it be false. Please. Okay, we got a true and a true. Survey says false! Rich antioxidants in the cocoa and chocolate are known to reduce stress. Chocoholics rejoice. Are you gentlemen ready? Should I put more whipped cream on? Yeah! Gluttons for punishment. Here we go. This stuff. Don't buy the cheapo stuff, evidently. All right. Here we go, gentlemen. Spin. 3. Are you nervous? Here we go. Ready? 1. Oh, Oh, how was it? It tastes good at least? All right, tastes good at least. All right, we'll get, all right. No, you still have 2 more clicks to do. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally joking. I'm totally joking. All right, here we go. We'll kind of try to, good thing I put down the tarp. All right, here we go. Are you ready, my friend? 3. Here we go. Get my whipped cream off. Everybody count with me. 1, 2, 3. Oh, he's safe. He's safe. All right. Next question. Are you nervous? Does it make you nervous? Make you a little nervous. Elevate your stress. You guys need some chocolate, don't you? All right. Number 4, hair loss from stress can start and last for up to 3 months after the stressful event. All right, here we go. The ladies both say true. True! Congratulations. Gentlemen, give your wives a hug. All right, here we go. What question is this one? Number 5. There's only one more after this, all right? Stress is known to turn your hair gray. Stress is known to turn hair gray. True or false? We got, they're differing. False and true. Are you guys ready? False! This is a misnomer! Levi, I am so sorry, pal. I am so sorry.
You look it.
I've been waiting for this, pal. All right. 2. Oh, you're a lucky duck, my friend. That's good whipped cream. 1. 2. I dodged the bullet. Oh, man. Here we go. Here we go. Are we ready? Oh, I don't need to spin. Here we go. The stress hormone, cortisol, reduces hunger impulses and can actually cause some people to lose drastic amounts of weight during very stressful periods. True or false? True or false? True or false? We got a false over here, a true over here. I love it. Here we go. Survey says false. Ah, the nurse. Ah! Cortisol is actually known to produce belly fat and enlarge fat cells. Probably why Santa has such a big belly. Imagine trying to get all those gifts made and delivered on time. All right. Here we go. Grace, you're going to have to... 5! You're going to have to take him out to eat after this or something. All right. Look, at least some of the more whipped cream. I got to please the people, my friend. Here we go. One, 2, 3, 4, 5! Oh! Congratulations. Give it up for our team, everybody. You guys are awesome. I don't know who won ultimately. I think you guys won. Congratulations. You guys are awesome. Thanks for being my volunteers. Everybody give it up for them one more time. You guys win a bottle of whipped cream. Congratulations. I'm proud of you. You really did it. Yep. All right, I'm going to move this out of the way so I don't mess anything up else on the stage. All right. So this morning we are talking about, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. We are talking about stress, kind of, all right? And stress is one of those things that every single one of us faces. It is almost an American pastime, wouldn't you say? It's kind of what we do as Americans. If your life is not stressful enough, if you don't have enough things going on, and it's not already stressful enough, do you know what lots of us will do? We will pull out a cell phone of these devices, and we will look at them to take up the time that we could use to relax in order to watch other people's lives pass by us on Facebook and usually, ultimately, make you feel somewhat bad about something in your own life. I'm not that good of a dad. I don't do that with my kids. I'm not that good of a mom. I'm not cleaning my house and baking cookies, right? We live in this world that is inundated with stress. We live in this world that puts it on us and punches us in the face with it and tries to keep our level of stress as very high as it possibly can. This morning, I was thinking about if I were to ask you guys to list off words that kind of are categorize your life, that you would say these are words that describe who I am. My guess is a lot of you would end up putting words on your sheet of paper that have to do with stress. I'm worry a lot. I'm fearful. I have high anxiety. I am stressful. My life is just characterized by these things that put me under pressure. I'm under a lot of pressure, right? Most of us would use words like that, but my guess is that very few of us would put this one word on our sheet of paper. Very few of us would use the word peaceful. I am a peaceful person. I am just full of peace. I live my life and I go through my day and I just feel all of this peace washing over me, right? It's just wonderful. Very few of us would put that word as part of what our day looks like, that all of the turbulence and all of the chaos in our life has been removed from our lives. The reality is most of us feel like we go through our days, and every day, if you're not in the middle of a stressful situation, it feels like every day you're just clicking one more click, right? Because you know the pie is coming and you're going to get your slice of the pie, aren't you? You're just clicking, and you're just clicking, and you're just clicking, and you know that stressful event is just waiting to whack you in the face. Wouldn't you say that paints a pretty true picture of kind of the American life, the American way today? That we just, and if it wasn't bad enough with just work and family life, you have all the added stress of what the news is putting on you, how our world is failing around us, how there are terrorists everywhere. I went to the movies in Kansas City over Christmas break, and I was worried while I was watching a movie that somebody might get up and shoot me, right? Real enjoyable, right? Star Wars, I'm looking out for Darth Vader walking around, you know what I mean? It is a crazy world that we live in, and it piles up stress. And for most of us, my guess is that you do not experience very much peace at all in your life. I wonder if that's how it was supposed to be, though. If you guys would open up to John chapter 14 with me. If you'll give me a second, I'm going to take a puff of my inhaler because I'm having some breathing problems this morning. Okay. John 14, if you would. John 14, 25 through 27. John 14, 25 through 27. This is what Jesus says. All this, as I lose my Bible, all this I have spoken to you. All this I have spoken while still with you. But the Advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and will remind you of everything I have said to you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. Jesus is clearly going through, and he's kind of saying a few things. He says, I've spoken this stuff while I'm still with you, right? If you don't know the context of John chapter 14, it might be hard to understand why he's even saying this. But what's going to happen is, John 14 is going to happen, John 15, John 16, 17, Jesus is going to do a lot of talking, and then very shortly after that, there are going to be guards that come, military men who are brutal men. They're going to come and they are going to capture Jesus after one of his best friends in the whole world kisses him on the cheek and betrays him. He is going to betray him. These men are going to take him away and they're going to brutalize him. He will go before governors. He will go before religious officials. He will be beaten and bruised and brutalized. And Jesus will ultimately be taken to the cross and die. And he says, all this I've spoken while still with you. All these things that I've said, I've spoken it just so you remember I did this while I was with you. And he says, but there is an advocate who is going to come. There is going to be one who God is going to send to dwell with you. He will be the Holy Spirit. We talked a little bit about this last week. That God will give you one who will come and will take the place of what Jesus has been doing on earth, and he will speak into you. He will teach you all things. He will remind you of everything that I have said. And then Jesus says this peculiar little thing in verse 27. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. Isn't that odd? You and I live in this world that's full of stress. Wouldn't you say that? Your kids, tell me having kids doesn't add like a whole load of stress to your life, right? Your work, you just every single day you go in and you just feel this incredible amount of stress around the things that you're supposed to produce for somebody who you never even see, and they are expecting more and more out of you, and you're giving all you've got, and you just leave there feeling very incredibly stressed. Yeah? You understand that. And Jesus says this thing that he says, peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. And he even says this, it's not just, I don't give as the world gives. Do you know how the world gives peace? The world gives peace through power and manipulation, don't they? The world gives peace, and it's something that's conditional. If you continue to act in this way, if you continue to not have uprisings, if you continue to not fight against us, then we will provide peace for you. But if you do not, what does the world come in with? They come in with a hammer, don't they? You know, at Jesus' time, there's actually a thing that we call the Pax Romana that Jesus is living underneath. This is during the Roman era. The Romans had gone in and they had conquered all of the known world, and they had created this peace that was over the entire empire. And it's kind of an interesting time. It is part of the reason I think God chose this moment in history to bring Jesus into the world, is because at this exact moment, there are not wars going on. The gospel message could spread through the entire Roman Empire without fear of having to go through battle zones and war zones, and where there's all these places where people are fighting. But do you know how the Romans brought about peace? Did they bring it about with some pieces of pie and a grandmother, right? No. They brought it about with a sword. They brought it about with power and fear. And Jesus says to us, I am leaving you my peace. I am giving you the peace that I had in this world. Jesus had this uncanny knack to be able to have all of the pressure in the world on him, and for him to just say, yeah, I'm going off to pray. Right? How many of you have incredibly pressure-filled lives at work? Anybody have some of those? Yes, okay. Could you imagine in the middle of the zone where you are in it, and it is all flying at you, and the bosses are coming down on you, and you've got to get stuff produced, and if you don't do it right this minute, you're going to get fired, people are going to get laid off, everything, and you just said, I'm going to pray, right? This is the kind of peace that Jesus has exhibited, where the pressures of this world were not his pressures. And he says, I'm going to leave it with you. And here's kind of the concern that I have for us. Because what you may not know is the context of this is that Jesus is about to go through the most terrifying event of his entire life. His disciples are going through a terrifying event where he is going to die on a cross. They're going to watch him die. This is real history. Really, like real stuff happened. They're going to watch it happen. And Jesus says to them right before this event, peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. And here's my question for you and I. Because most of us live in the midst of these lives that we kind of have these two conundrums going on, where you live in this world that is incredibly stressful, that robs you of any sense of peace, and Jesus has already said to you, I give you peace, but not very many of us live in that peace. And my question would be, why? Why is it that you don't embrace the peace? Why is it that you let the stress of this life rule you instead of the God of this world rule you? Can you answer that question? This morning, I want to look at 3 ways that I think you and I get our peace robbed from us, all right? So if you guys will stick with me through these, we'll get through these, and then we'll kind of look at a way that we can maybe take back some of the peace that we have had robbed from us. But I want to look at just 3 things that I feel like rob us of our peace, 3 main robbers of peace. The first one is this fear and anxiety. Fear and anxiety. Tell me that some of you have not experienced tremendous amounts of fear and anxiety. There's a guy who wrote a book, I can't think of his name all of a sudden, but he wrote a book that was called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. It's a really interesting book. He's a neuroscientist, and he studies the brain. He's a professor, and he talks about the idea of how humans are so very different from the animal kingdom. And one of the things that he talks about is, this guy isn't even a Christian, but I think if you read it, you go, yeah, it's because we were created in God's image, all right? So he says that animals, they see a zebra sees a lion coming after them, and the zebra goes, lion, right? And what does the zebra do? It runs, yeah? It runs as fast as it can. Lion! Do you know what the zebra is doing about 10 minutes after the lion? It's going, tasty grass, right? That's what a zebra does. What would you do after the lion? You'd be thinking, what if the lion comes back? What if the lion comes? Are my kids safe? You'd be gathering everybody around you. You'd be protecting yourself. You'd be thinking about how do we need to fight off the lions. We need to create better defenses around here. You would start to stress about a future event that you are not even sure is going to happen, but in your mind, you can imagine future events and you can create them. And what's interesting, in this guy's book and in his studies, he found that when we begin to think about future events that haven't even happened yet, that our bodies have the same exact stress response as though the event had already occurred. You have experienced this. You have laid in bed when your job is on the line and you're not sure what's going to happen, and you have laid there and you have projected out what's going to happen to your job, haven't you? What's she going to say tomorrow during that meeting? Am I just going to be fired? What if he comes in and starts, he's always going up against me. And he's always Everything that I say, he just contradicts. What's going to happen when that happens? You have done this with your marriage and your spouse, and when things aren't going well and you start to project out. And what happens is your body begins to react as though you were actually going through an actual event, even though you're not. Isn't that interesting? Do you know what Jesus said? I love this because Jesus actually addresses it. He said, don't worry about tomorrow. How many of you worry about tomorrow? Be honest. How many of you worry about the bills? How many of you worry about the food? How many of you worry about the kids and what's going to happen to them as they grow up? We all do, don't we? This is, again, the American way. And Jesus says something crazy. He says, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough worries of its own. Do you know what he says to do? He doesn't just leave it there, because I think it would be a mistake to just leave it there, to say, well, don't worry about it because tomorrow has enough worries of its own. You'd be like, well, then who is going to worry about it, right? Who is going to deal with this if I don't deal with it? And this is what Jesus says. He says, but seek first his kingdom, meaning God's kingdom, and his righteousness, and all of these things will be added to you as well. In other words, that if you seek God and you work hard for God's kingdom, that God is going to take care of your world. He is going to take care of the needs that you have, not the wants necessarily, but he will take care of the needs that you have. This, my friends, is a tough one. This is where I believe kind of the rubber hits the road in your faith. If you really believe in God, then really saying to God, I'm not going to worry. It is kind of a test of faith almost to give up your fear and anxiety, to give up your worry, to give up all of those presumptions about the future, and to really legitimately say, God, I trust you with my future. I trust you with my future. And so because of that, I'm going to give my present to you. And I'm going to live out my present life for God's kingdom and his righteousness. This means when somebody comes in to talk to you, it is not just about making another sale, is it? It means that part of your responsibility is not just as a worker, because your faith life cannot just be segmented between Sundays and Mondays. Your Sunday is about influencing your Monday. And so when you're making that sale, you are looking for opportunities to bring God's kingdom and his righteousness into view for people. This is a huge thing. I know some of you say, but Ken, my employer, but Ken, I don't know what to do. I know for some of you, it puts you in a predicament. Some of you are teachers, and it's hard to deal. Like, how do I bring my faith into that place? I don't know what to tell you other than the God of this world asked us to do this. He asked us to put our worry aside, to stop letting fear and anxiety rob you of your peace. Instead, to find your peace in God's kingdom and to, by golly, to start to make his kingdom and his righteousness a priority in your life and know that he will take care of the rest. I am telling you, for me, when I have done this well, and I haven't always done it well, when I've done it well, I find this incredible peace in my life. The second main robber of our peace is unrealistic expectations and frustrations. Unrealistic expectations and frustrations. Are any of you perfectionists out there? Anybody? Yeah, come on, raise your hands high. Now raise it perfectly, all right? I'm a perfectionist. You might not believe that about me. I don't know if you would. But when I do something, I want to do it perfectly. So, for instance, Jenny and I have this bathroom that we've been remodeling, and I have been remodeling it for 6 months maybe. I don't know. It's been a long time. And the other day I was telling Jenny, I said, I think we have 4 good solid days to finish this bathroom. That's all it would take is just 4 days. Do you know how long we've had 4 days to finish the bathroom for? 6 months. It's been at this point for 6 months. And do you know why? Because I want it to be perfect. I don't want to have somebody come over and go, who did that, right? I don't want my tile to go like this, you know what I mean? I want it to be perfect. I want everything thought through to the nth degree, and I go over it, and I go over it, and I change the design, and I rework it, and I rework it, and I rework it, because I want it to be perfect. How many of you would say that's a realistic expectation for a preacher? Anybody in here? Especially this preacher. Anybody? Can I get a hallelujah? Thank you. Yes. Let me ask you a question. Bathroom, big deal. It's probably a big deal for my wife, but big deal, right? But your life, big deal to have unrealistic expectations? I look at some of the moms in our culture. I feel like there's so much pressure put on women to be perfect, to have it all together. It's funny. For some reason, it's okay for men to just come home, plop in the chair, and watch TV. But the wife, she's got to come home. She's got to be working from 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 8 to 7. She's got to be working all these hours. She's got to come home and do all the laundry. Then she's got to come home and do all the dishes. And she's got to take care of the kids and raise them. And there's all this pressure on women. And not only is it this whole sphere of stuff that women are supposed to do, but then you have to do it perfectly, don't you? Your house has to be clean and immaculate. Your kids, they have to have a shower every night. We feel this pressure, don't we? Every night. Oh my goodness, the kid, there's 4 of them. Do you know how many armpits that is? That is a lot of armpits, folks, not counting your own. There is all of this pressure and expectation placed on these young mothers. And if you're not in that place, it is hard to understand just how exhausting it can be. And I would speculate. I'm just speculating here, but I don't think Jesus holds those high expectations for you about being a mother. Do you know what He cares about? That you love your children and that you teach your children to love God. Yeah, I'm sure He wants them clean. I'm sure He doesn't want their armpits stinking, but they miss a bath. I don't think Jesus is going to go crazy over that. That some of you have this high expectation of yourself when it comes to work. It's not about parenting or relationships. It's about work, and you are a workaholic. If you're not working 60 or 70 hours a week, then you didn't work that week, right? And what you don't know is that the people who are working under you and working around you feel guilty because they're not giving everything that you're giving. And you feel like you're not giving enough and you've got to give more, so you feel guilty because you're not good enough. And your peace is being robbed from you. Because you have this expectation that nobody else places on you, that you have to be perfect and that you have to have it together, and your fear and anxiety and your unrealistic expectations and frustration, all of that stuff muddled together is killing you. Do you know what Jesus said? Now listen, I'm not advocating that we don't work hard. I'm not advocating that we don't have excellence, all right? Don't hear me saying that. But I am advocating that there are realistic expectations in your life, and if you place unrealistic expectations, you will kill yourself. That's not what Jesus asked of you. Do you remember what He said? He said, "Come to me if you're weary and heavy burdened, heavy laden." If you're carrying, when I taught teenagers, I said, if your backpack's real heavy, for some of you, if you've got a heavy briefcase, if you got an iPhone 6 maybe, you know what? Those are really big. If you don't have either, they're big. Anyway, if you're carrying something really heavy, Jesus said, "Come to me with that burden, and I will give you rest." That's what He offers you. That is so different than the expectations that you are letting drive you. Again, I'm not saying don't be excellent. Again, I'm not saying don't work hard. The Bible also says that whoever doesn't work won't eat, all right? There is some expectation upon us that we will actually work, that we will do what we're supposed to do, that when we say yes, we'll let our yes be yes and our no be no. But there is also this place where we can get that out of whack, and where we are trying to impress people and impress ourselves and make ourselves find our value by trying to live up to these unrealistic expectations. And I am just telling you, I don't think God expects that out of you. Here's the third one. Third main robber of peace. It's anger, rage, and hurt. Anger, rage, and hurt. Can I just for a moment speak to those of you who have this bottled up anger, rage, and hurt? My heart breaks for you. It really does. Because I think that some of the people who have been wounded the deepest are the angriest on the inside. There are some of you who had somebody whose fist was too big and arm was too strong for you to stop them from doing what they did. And there's this incredible pain and anger and hurt bottled up inside of you. Some of you have experienced tragic loss, and there is no reason or rhyme for it. There is no answer for it. And how it has presented itself, how your grief has presented itself, is through anger and rage and hurt. And you don't know how to deal with it. My heart breaks for you. If you see somebody who is angry, I would say 9 times out of 10, this is probably not always, but 9 times out of 10, there is a deep wound that has broken them, that has built up a wall. People always made fun of you your whole life. People always took advantage of you. They always beat you up and broke you. And you just are wounded. And this anger comes up, and it comes out in little darts sometimes for some of you, and for others of you it comes out in your own fists, and for others of you it comes out in your voice, and it just presents itself, and it's there, and you feel like you're out of control in the midst of that. Do you not know that Jesus asks you to forgive? Oh, that's a hard one, isn't it? It is a hard one to forgive. It is a hard one to give all of the pain that was caused and brought upon you for you to forgive and to give that over to Him. To invite Him. This is what kind of my personal definition of forgiveness is. Whenever I talk about forgiveness, I always ask people to define it, and very few people can define what forgiveness is. They'll say, well, you're supposed to forgive and forget. And I'll say, no, you can't define forgiveness with forgiveness, all right? What is it, right? Think about it for a second. Could you define forgiveness? I think it is giving up your right to revenge to God. This is how I define it. It is me giving up my right to hold revenge upon somebody to God, trusting that God is good and gracious and that He will bring revenge upon that person in whatever way is the appropriate manner to handle it. If the person turns to Christ, then that revenge will be taken out upon Christ. If they do not return to Christ, if they don't come to Him, there will be some sort of punishment held upon them in this world. Not in this world, but in the next life to come. We call it hell. That there will be an ultimate revenge placed upon them. And when this is why people are hold unforgiveness in their heart, is because they want to get revenge to the person. They think about, they dream about, and it creates all this anger and all this angst and all this hurt, and it robs you of your peace. Might I invite you to give up your right to revenge with the person and say to God, I trust that you are good enough, that you will deal with this in whatever way is most appropriate, because I can't. I don't know how to deal with it. And so I'm going to give it to you and let you deal with it, and I'm just going to be a human. And I'm going to let you heal and replace that hurt and anger in my heart with something new. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, right? You know them. Some of you have let anger, rage, and hurt rob you. So the question is, what do you do? We already know that we live in this incredible amount of stress where our peace is being robbed from us. We know that Jesus has already offered His peace to us. How do you come into contact with it? Might I suggest this? If you would open your Bibles one last time with me to Philippians. We're going to open to Philippians chapter 4. Some of you have this passage memorized. Some of you could come up here and you could preach this passage way better than I could. And I'm just going to read it and kind of give you just a quick insight, and then we're going to move on, all right? We're going to finish her up. Here's what it says. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation. I want you to just take a moment, think about it. That meeting that you have with your boss, don't be anxious about it. The next time your kid is going to get upset and you're going to get put in that position where you always react with anger, don't get anxious about it. Don't get anxious about it. But don't just not get anxious about it, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving. So you are going to pray and you're going to bring a petition before God, and you're going to do it with thanksgiving. Meaning you're going to remember how good He's been. You're going to remember the things that He's done for you. You're going to thank Him for how many times He's come through for you. You're going to present your requests to God. Listen to this, verse 7. You should underline this in your scriptures. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding. It is this crazy kind of peace. It is the kind that nobody can explain to anybody else. You will see, I've seen these people who are going through horrific situations. And you see them walking through life, and you talk to them, and you ask them how they're doing, and they go, you know what? God is just good. And you walk away, and what do you think? This is what I think. How in the world is that person living with that kind of peace? I will tell you, it is not magic. It is because their dependency is not upon themselves. Their dependency is not upon how good they can be. It is how good He is. They, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, presented their request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And I want you to notice this. Paul doesn't promise that God will remove your circumstances. This is one of the things that drives me nuts when Christians think that if I just pray, God is going to completely remove my circumstances from me. This is not the promise. The promise is that God will give you His peace in the circumstances. The promise is not that God removes you from the circumstances. The promise is that God walks through with you the circumstances, right? It's not that he removes you, it's that he walks through with you the circumstances. This is the promise of God, that you will have this crazy peace that nobody will understand. People will push you to get angry, but aren't you mad? Aren't you angry? And you'll say, I want to be, but God has given me this peace. I don't know how to say it any other way, but just God has given me a peace in my life. Please don't fake this, okay? If you don't have the peace, nobody's going to look at you and say, well, that person's not very spiritual, are they? We're going to understand if you don't have it. Don't fake it. But if God has given it to you, don't hide it either. And I am telling you, the way you get it, the way you come about this peace is not by you trying to be more peaceful. It is not about you being better at this. It is about you coming before the Almighty God and laying yourself at His feet and saying, I need you. I don't know how to handle this situation. I blow up with my kids every single time. I don't know how to handle it. God, would you please, peace that surpasses understanding. God, I am so nervous about this job and the interview and all the stuff that I don't know if I'm going to get it. My family really needs this. God, please, just peace that surpasses understanding. Getting up to preach a sermon, you're worried about it. Is it going to be any good? Pray, petition, God, peace without any understanding. You and I, every one of us, every need. Stop thinking you have to do it on your own. Stop thinking you need to be so self-sufficient. I really think this is about getting a kingdom worldview. I think it is about seeing the world in a totally different way. My son Peter recently he got glasses because he was sitting very close to the TV. And my mom always told me not to sit close to the TV because you're going to ruin your eyes. In reality, my eyes were ruined, so I sat close to the TV, right? I couldn't see, so I sat. And so when I saw Peter sitting close to the TV, Jenny and I started talking and saying, we better maybe think about getting his eyes checked. So we got Peter's eyes checked, and you'll notice he's wearing these sharp-looking Coolio glasses now, and looks like kind of a mini Kent. And he's so fun. And Jenny took him to the doctor. They tried on the glasses, put them on, and she said when he got out, he did this thing where he was like looking around at the world. And it sparked this memory in me. Do you ever have those memories, seeing your kid do something, and you're like, oh, I remember that moment. I remember as a kid when I got my first glasses. You see, my parents had probably waited too long. They just thought I liked sitting close to the TV. And I got my glasses, and I put them on for the first time. And it was like I really saw the world. Anybody have this experience? I was walking around, and I remember looking at trees and being like, they're not just blurry there's like leaves on them, and there's little twigs and branches, and I could see bugs for the first time in my life. And I remember driving down the road and looking at stop signs and street signs, and I could actually read the words on the street signs. I remember driving down the road at night and having all this. The stoplights used to be beautiful. It was like Christmas every day of the year, because if you're nearsighted and you look at stoplights without your glasses, they're this big burst of light, right? But if you have your glasses and you can see well, they're just this little light like this. And so I'd take my glasses off so I could see that again. But I remember just going through this world and being amazed at it as I saw it for the first time. Might I invite you to this today? I think Jesus' plea to you and I is to put on spiritual glasses to see the world through a different lens. Most of us have been seeing the world through the physical world that we live in. If there's a problem in your life, if you have something to be fearful and anxious about it, it is an opportunity for you to stand up even more, stand up a little taller, and take more of the reins and pull harder on that horse. And get him to go the direction you want. You take control. You be the man or the woman, and that's what we think of in those moments of anxiety. You struggle with anger, you try to control it more. You try to make yourself be in control instead of giving to God and saying, I need you. This morning, what if you changed the way that you operated in this world? What if you put on God lenses? And you started to see things not from this perspective of, I started here, remember we talked last week of A, and I will end here, point Z, and I'm just in this little pericope of life. What if you started to see your life from an eternal perspective that will go on in Jesus? I'll tell you, while death is a very sad thing in this world, And it still breaks my heart. And I do not believe it was what God intended for us in this world. I believe he intended for us to live forever. I think death is a removal of that intention. While death is a horrific thing, if you know Jesus, it is not an end. Amen? It is not an end. If you have been hurt, my heart breaks for you. I believe God's heart breaks for you. Sometime maybe we'll talk about the issue of pain in the world and why God still allows it. But if you've been hurt, just for now, trust me that I believe God's heart breaks for you. But do you know what is so amazing for God? Some people will think, well, God must have a plan for me, and so he made me go through that. I don't think that's true. I think there's sin in the world, and sin caused you to go through that hurt. But I think God is big enough and good enough that he can actually redeem that hurt. He doesn't just redeem your soul from sin. I believe God can redeem the hurtful, painful events that you went through to use them for his kingdom and his glory. But do you know what it takes? It takes a pair of these spiritual goggles for you to see the world as God sees them. To see that the events around you are not merely just physical events, but that there is a spiritual underpinning to it all. And that God has something big in store for you. God has something more for you. This morning, I want to invite you. We're going to sing the song, and I want to invite you guys to, this morning, maybe for the first time for a while, take off just the glasses you've been viewing this world through. And instead, come to God with prayer, petition, thanksgiving, present your requests to him, and start to actually believe and trust in him like he is really the God that he says he is, and to find out the kind of crazy peace that he can offer into your world. Most of us are missing it. Most of us are being robbed of it because we simply will not put on that lens. We treat this world as though we have to be in control of everything. And man, if you believe that, then you don't really believe that God is God. This morning, let's worship him. Let's sing to him. And I'm telling you, if you are broken, if you are hurting, this is not an invitation for you to just man up and suck it up. This is an invitation for you to come to the cross. And for you to give those hurts and brokenness to him. And let him be your peace. Let him heal you. I would invite you to come forward this morning. If you need prayer, if you need to just come to Jesus, if you need hope in your life, this is the place to come and to find it. It's at the foot of Jesus at the cross. Will you guys stand with us and worship this morning?